Hey there, tonight, we're heading north, to a place of long winters, restless seas, and fierce endurance. The Viking Age, but forget the horned helmets and fiery raids that popular culture loves to show. Tonight, you're not a warrior charging into battle or a sailor leaping onto foreign shores. You're something more enduring, more constant, and in truth, more vital. Tonight, you're living the daily life of an ordinary Viking, surviving in a world where the elements are often harsher than the enemies, and where home, hearth, and survival mean everything. Before we slip into this world, if you enjoy this kind of journey, feel free to leave a like, maybe subscribe if you'd like to hear more, and let me know in the comments where you're watching from, and what time it is right now. I always love to see who's joining from around the world. Now, make yourself comfortable. Dim the lights, settle into your blanket. Let the hum of a fan or the quiet of the night carry you deeper. And let's step quietly into the Viking Age. Congratulations, you've just woken up in the year 875. The first thing you notice isn't light, but sound. A steady crackle, soft but insistent, the longhouse fire still smouldering from the night before. It's faintly smoky in the air, not choking, but enough that every breath carries a taste of wood and ash. Your eyes open to dimness, not full dark, not bright, just the low glow of embers beneath the roof beams, orange light seeping faintly across packed earth and rough-hewn timber. You lie beneath a blanket of wool, scratchy against your skin, but thick enough to have kept the cold at bay through the night. The air beyond the blanket is sharp, chilled from the lingering winter, and you hesitate before pulling the cover aside. You can hear the rustle of others, your family stirring beside you. The longhouse is shared, one room, one hearth, everyone bundled close together, row after row of bedding along the walls. Privacy is a concept you don't truly know. In this world, life is lived in company. You sit up, slowly, stretching sore muscles, your breath visible in the dim air. The roof beams above you, blackened with years of smoke, each one dark and heavy, holding back the sky. The smell here is a mixture of many things: smoke, wool, sweat, dried fish, stored grain, a faint tang of animals in the stalls at the far end of the hall. It is not unpleasant, not exactly, but strong, lived in, and layered with memory. A hen clucks softly from its corner, feathers rustling, as if reminding you that even before the sun has risen, the work of the day is waiting. You rub your arms, drawing the wool tighter around your shoulders, and listen to the subtle stir of life around you. The cough of an older man, the murmur of a child half asleep, the soft scrape of someone feeding the fire with fresh kindling. The fire is the heart of the longhouse. Without it, the cold would seep in fully, settling in your bones, stealing your breath. With it, there is warmth, light, and a center to gather around. Someone stirs the embers into flame, and you watch the sparks leap upward, chasing shadows across the roof beams. The fire grows stronger, wood popping, light spilling wider, pushing back the grey. The longhouse stretches long and narrow, walls made of timber and turf, earth packed against the outside to keep out the wind. Along the sides, wooden planks serve as benches by day and beds by night, lined with straw, furs, and woolen blankets. The floor is dirt, worn smooth by years of footsteps, scattered here and there with straw to soften it. At the far end, animals stir, goats shifting on their hooves, the faint grunt of a pig, a cow shifting weight with a soft breath. Their presence is more than practical. In winter, their warmth rises into the hall, mingling with the heat of the fire, another layer of survival against the frost. You stand at last, pulling on your tunic, thick wool dyed a faded brown, and cinch it with a leather belt. The fabric is coarse, homespun, but strong. Over it, you drape a cloak, fastening it at the shoulder with a simple bronze pin. It smells faintly of lanolin, of sheep, of the outdoor air where it's been worn before. On your feet, soft leather shoes, patched from use, bound snugly against the cold. Each piece of clothing has been crafted by hand, every stitch, every weave the product of hours of labor. Nothing is wasted, nothing taken for granted. The day has not yet fully begun, but already the rhythm is moving. One by one, the others stir, stretching, dressing, rubbing sleep from their eyes. Children murmur, reaching for mothers, for warmth, for reassurance. The older folk move slowly, careful with stiff limbs, while the younger stand more quickly, eager to begin, or simply restless. Food is simple. A pot hangs over the fire, porridge thickening within it, made from barley or oats, the grains softened overnight. A woman stirs it slowly, adding a pinch of salt, perhaps a little dried berry, for a flavor, if any remain. The smell rises, nutty and warm, mingling with the smoke. One by one, bowls are filled, wooden spoons dipping, passing from hand to hand. You take yours, cupping it in your palms, letting the heat seep into your fingers. The first taste is plain, but filling. The porridge is dense, heavy, a meal designed not for delight but entrance. It will sit in your stomach, fuel for the hours ahead, a foundation to carry you through the cold and the work. Around you, others eat in silence, the scrape of spoons against bowls filling the hall, punctuated by the occasional cough, the hiss of the fire, the shuffle of animals. Outside, faint light begins to glow at the edges of the roof, seeping in through the smoke hole, brushing against the beams. Dawn has come, slow and pale, painting the air with silver. You can feel it pressing at the walls, waiting to be let in. The longhouse door creaks open, and a rush of cold air spills inside, biting against your cheeks, sharper than anything the fire can hold back. You look toward it, and beyond the threshold, the faint shapes of the village wait, the outline of other longhouses, low and sturdy, smoke curling from their roofs, fields stretching beyond, the land still bare from winter, but alive with promise. The day is beginning, and so are you. The door closes softly behind you, and the world outside greets you with a cold breath. It bites at your cheeks, pricks your fingertips, and seeps instantly into the folds of your cloak. The sun is little more than a pale smear of light on the horizon, a weak glow fighting through heavy northern clouds. The air is damp, crisp, filled with the smell of wet earth and wood smoke. You stand for a moment, letting your eyes adjust to the dimness, your breath spilling visibly in the morning air. The village stretches quietly around you, a cluster of long houses nestled close together for protection and warmth. Their turf walls rise low against the horizon, smoke curling from every roof hole, carrying the smell of smouldering pine and birch. Beyond the houses, fields lie bare, rough patches of frozen earth waiting for spring. Strips of land stretch out in long narrow plots, each one belonging to a family, marked by low fences of wood or woven branches. These are the lifelines of the village, the barley and rye fields that will, when the earth softens, be sown and tended, harvested, and stored against the cruel turn of seasons. For now, they lie still, sleeping beneath frost and grey sky. You walk slowly toward the edge of the village. The ground beneath your shoes is damp and uneven, the thaw of spring making mud in patches, straw laid down here and there to keep it passable. Chickens peck at the earth, feathers fluffed against the cold, scratching for worms or scraps. A dog trots past, its fur thick and coarse, nose pressed low as it sniffs its familiar world. Its tail wags once in acknowledgement before it hurries on. The sounds of the morning begin to rise around you, the rhythmic thud of an axe splitting wood, the low voices of men speaking quietly, gathering near the edge of the field, the laughter of children chasing one another, their play weaving through the serious movements of their elders. Life is communal here, woven tightly together, each person visible, each person necessary. You pause at the well, a sturdy wooden frame with a rope hanging down into the dark water below. The rope is rough against your hands as you draw it upward, the bucket heavy, dripping as it clears the rim. The water is cold, clearer than glass, carrying a faint metallic tang. You drink deeply, the chill of it spreading instantly through your chest, bracing and sharp. Then, with care, you pour some into a second bucket for the animals, who nudge their heads against the wood in impatience. The cows low softly, steam rising from their mouths, their broad bodies shifting against one another as they wait. You set the bucket down, and they drink noisily, lapping at the water, grateful for it. You run your hand along one cow's neck, her hide coarse and warm beneath your palm, her presence steady, grounding. These animals are more than possessions, they are life itself. Milk, meat, hides, bone, all of it sustains your family, your village. Losing one is a hardship, losing many is disaster. A neighbor greets you, his voice low, his cloak drawn close around his shoulders. His face is weathered, cheeks reddened by wind and cold, beard flecked with frost. He speaks of the day ahead, of wood to be cut, fences to be mended, tools to be checked. Every season has its labors, and each day pushes the village a little further along the cycle of survival. You nod, listening, sharing a few words of your own before parting ways. At the edge of the village, you climb a small rise and pause, looking out across the land. It stretches far, open and raw, a sweep of hills and rocky soil, patches of forest scattered across the horizon. The sky above it is wide, heavy with clouds, the pale sun straining to break through. Somewhere in the distance, the faint call of a raven echoes, deep and rough, carried on the wind. This is not an easy land. The soil is thin, the winters long, the storms sudden and merciless. But it is also rich in its own way, offering fish from rivers and seas, timber from forests, pasture for sheep and cattle. It demands strength, patience, endurance, and it gives back just enough to keep you alive year after year. You make your way down toward the shore, where the sea stretches out, dark and restless, its waves curling against the stones with a steady rhythm. The smell of salt mixes with the smoke of the village, sharp and bracing. A small boat rests pulled up on the stones, its frame of oak sturdy, its lines simple but sure. Nets are coiled inside it, rough and knotted, ready for the next venture onto the water. You crouch by the shore, picking up a stone, worn smooth by waves, and roll it in your palm. The sea is both provider and threat. It brings fish, trade, wealth to those bold enough to sail across it. But it also takes lives, swallowing boats and men into its depths without warning. You watch it now, dark and endless, and feel its pull. Somewhere out there, beyond the horizon, lie lands you've only heard of, England, Ireland, far-off frontier. To some in your village, those places mean raids, plunder, the chance of fortune. But to you, for now, the sea is simply another presence in daily life, both feared and relied upon. Turning back toward the village, you catch the sound of a horn. Its call is low, resonant, carried over the land. It's not an alarm, not a warning of raiders or threat, but a summons, the signal for gathering, for work to begin. You make your way quickly toward the sound, joining others as they file toward the field. Here, the work begins. Men and women alike bend to the tasks, clearing brush, mending fences, spreading manure from the stalls onto the soil. The earth must be readied, even in cold, for soon it will be time to plow, to sow, to ask the gods for good harvest. Children run errands, carrying bundles of sticks, fetching tools, watching with wide eyes as their elders move through the rhythm of the day. Laughter rises now and then, softening the labor, weaving it into something more than survival. You take your place among them, hands grasping the wooden handle of a tool, the weight of it familiar. The ground resists you at first, hard with frost, but slowly, steadily, it gives way, turning, softening. Your breath rises in white clouds, your muscles warming with each motion, your body remembering the work it has done countless times before. Around you, the steady rhythm continues, thud of wood, scrape of iron, voices murmuring, the occasional call of a gull overhead. Time passes slowly, measured not by clocks, but by the rise of the sun and the growl of your stomach. The morning stretches long, the work relentless, but it is shared, carried together. This is what it means to live here, in this land, in this age. Alone, you would falter. Together, you endure. By midday, the sun has climbed higher, weak but brighter now, breaking through patches of cloud. The air softens slightly, though the chill remains. Someone calls out, announcing the meal, and tools are set aside, bodies stretching, shoulders rolling, voices easing into lighter tones. You walk back toward the longhouse, hands tingling from work, muscles pleasantly sore. The smell of food greets you before you even step inside. Fish, salted, and cooked slowly over the fire, its sharp scent filling the hall. Alongside it, more porridge, this time thicker, heartier, enriched with milk. Bowls are passed, bread is broken, rough and dense, its crust dark from the fire. You eat slowly, gratefully, the flavors simple but grounding. Smoke, salt, grain, all the essence of this place, of this life. Around you, the hall hums with voices, laughter rising here and there, a brief respite in the long cycle of labor. Children chatter, old men tell fragments of stories, women speak softly of tasks yet to be done. The fire burns steadily, its light dancing across their faces, shadows flickering along the walls. For a moment, you let yourself sink into the warmth, the fullness of food, the hum of voices. Outside, the world waits, the land, the sea, the endless work. But here, in this hall, in this moment, there is something more enduring, the sense of belonging, of survival shared, of life carried together. And in that, you find your strength. The warmth of the midday meal lingers as you step back outside. The longhouse door creaks shut behind you, and the chill air greets your face once more, sharp enough to remind you that the heart's comfort is always temporary. The sun now hangs higher than before, though it gives off more light than heat. Thin clouds streak across the sky, allowing a pale blue to break through in patches, a rare sight after so many days of grey. The village is alive again with movement. Some of the older folk remain inside, tending to children or weaving by the fire, but most have returned to the fields, the animals, or the workshops that dot the edges of the settlement. Each person's role, no matter how small, threads into the fabric of survival. There is no room for idleness here. You make your way back to the field, the earth damp beneath your boots, carrying with it the smell of turned soil and manure. Already, others have resumed their work. Some carry baskets of seed, though it is not yet time to sow, practicing instead the slow, careful weaving of nets that will be used to scatter them evenly when the moment arrives. Others mend wooden plows, their frames lashed with iron, their handles smoothed by years of calloused hands. You join a group working near the fence line, the woven barrier of branches sagging where winter storms have pressed against it. The fence marks the boundary not just of land, but of livelihood, keeping animals in, wild beasts out, and the fields protected. You set to work with steady hands, weaving new branches through the gaps, binding them tightly, testing their strength. The rhythm of the work is soothing, steady, your breath falling in time with the pull and twist of the wood. Around you, voices rise and fall. A man hums a low tune as he works, the melody simple, passed down from his father, perhaps his grandfather. A young boy carries fresh cut branches to the workers, his small frame bent with effort, but his eyes bright with pride. A woman pauses to adjust her cloak, the wind catching at her hair, before returning to the plough she repairs with a practiced hand. Every figure is absorbed, purposeful, bound together in a common task. As the hours pass, you pause often to stretch your back, feeling the ache settle into your shoulders. Your palms are rough, scratched by bark, but there is a satisfaction in the work. These fences will stand through the summer, keeping cattle safe, marking the lines of labor that hold the village together. When the repairs are complete, you move toward the workshops. Small outbuildings line the edge of the village, each dedicated to a different craft. The smell of wood smoke and iron hangs heavy in the air, mingling with the salt carried from the sea. You pass a weaver at her loom, the steady clack of wood marking her rhythm as she guides wool into cloth. Her fingers deft, sure. Bright threads hang nearby, dyed with plants and roots, soft yellows, earthy browns, deep reds. These fabrics will become cloaks, tunics, blankets, essential layers against the long winters. Further along, you hear the sharp ring of hammer on iron. The blacksmith's forge glows, orange and alive, its heat spilling outward into the cool air. You pause at the doorway, watching as sparks leap with every strike of the hammer. The smith's arms are thick with muscle, his brow damp with sweat, his focus unbroken. On the anvil, a blade begins to take shape, glowing red as he hammers it thin, folds it, hammers again. The rhythm is hypnotic, every strike purposeful, precise. Inside the workshop, the air is thick with smoke and heat, the smell of metal and charcoal sharp in your nose. Tools hang along the walls, hammers, tongs, chisels, each one marked by years of use. Beside the forge, buckets of water wait, their surfaces trembling each time a blade is quenched, sending up a hiss of steam. You step closer, running your hand lightly along the wooden haft of an axe leaning against the wall. Its edge gleams sharp, polished to perfection. Such tools are lifeblood here. With them, wood is split, land is cleared, boats are built, homes are mended. Without them, the settlement would falter, left vulnerable against the land itself. The smith glances up briefly, nodding once in greeting, then returns to his work. Words are scarce here, unnecessary. The forge speaks loudly enough, its fire consuming, demanding full attention. You linger only a little longer, then step back out into the open air, the cool breeze a welcome relief against the heat that clung to your skin. The afternoon stretches onward. You return to the fields for a time, then to the animals, checking their stalls, ensuring they have water, their bedding fresh. The cows shift and chew, content in their slow rhythm. The sheep bleat softly, their wool thick, soon to be sheared as the season warms. The goats clamber restlessly, pressing against the wooden fences, testing their bounds as always. By late afternoon, the shadows lengthen, stretching across the fields like dark fingers. The sun, though weak, has carried the village through another day of work, its light now dipping slowly toward the horizon. The air grows colder again, the warmth of midday vanishing as quickly as it came. You feel the weight of the hours in your muscles, the pull of fatigue setting into your legs. Yet the day is not finished. Inside the longhouse, preparations for the evening meal have begun. Smoke rises thicker from the roof hole, carrying with it the scent of stewing meat and herbs. A pot hangs over the fire, its contents bubbling softly, filling the hole with warmth. Around it, women stir and taste, adding handfuls of dried vegetables, sprinkling herbs crushed between stones. The smell is rich, comforting, promising sustenance for weary bodies. You sit near the fire, stretching your hands toward its glow. The heat seeps into your skin, soothing the ache in your joints. The hole hums softly as others filter in, their voices low, their movements slow with fatigue. Bowls are passed once more, ladled with the thick stew, lamb this time, its flavor strong, softened by carrots and onions stored carefully through the winter months. Alongside it, flat rounds of bread, dense and smoky from the fire, are shared. The meal is simple, but it fills you, warming your stomach, calming the restless ache of hunger. Around you, conversation drifts, stories of the day's work, plans for tomorrow, occasional bursts of laughter at a child's eager words. The hall glows with firelight, faces illuminated in shifting patterns of gold and shadow. As the meal ends, some remain near the fire, weaving or mending clothes, while others tend to tools, sharpening blades, checking handles. Even in rest, work continues. There is always something to be done, always a small task to prepare for the days ahead. Eventually, as darkness deepens outside, voices grow quieter. Children yawn, their energy spent, their laughter giving way to drowsy murmurs. The fire burns lower, its embers glowing soft red. You lie down once more on your bedding of straw and wool, drawing your cloak around you. The air is cold against your face, warm against your chest. The sounds of the village fade slowly, a coiffure, a murmur there, the faint crackle of the fire. Beyond the walls, the wind sighs through the trees, carrying with it the scent of sea and soil. Another day has passed, its labor etched into your muscles, its rhythm steady, enduring. Tomorrow will bring the same, and through each cycle of work and rest, the village endures, life carried forward one day, one season at a time. And with that thought, you let your eyes close, sinking into the quiet, into the warmth, into sleep. The dawn comes softly, pale and silver, seeping through the smoke hole before the rooster crows. The longhouse is hushed, heavy with the sounds of breathing, of bodies curled beneath wool and fur. The air is cold enough that your breath curls like smoke above your face. Outside, the faintest light brushes against the earth, not yet gold, but enough to remind you the night has passed. You rise slowly, the straw of your bedding crackling beneath you. The chill bites at your skin, urging you toward the fire's embers. With practiced hands, you stir them, coaxing a glow back into life, laying kindling, then thicker wood until the flames stretch upward once more. The heat spreads quickly, awakening the whole, painting the beams above with flickering shadows. Around you, others begin to stir, voices low and groggy, cloaks pulled tight as they sit upright. A child rubs their eyes, blinking at the fire's glow. A dog stretches in the corner, yawning wide, its paws scrabbling against the floor. Morning begins, not with noise, but with small movements, each person falling into their role. The first task is food. A pot is set upon the fire, Water ladled in, oats poured, stirred with a wooden spoon until the porridge thickens. The smell of grain fills the hall, earthy, simple, comforting. A pinch of salt is added, a rare treasure carefully preserved. When the meal is ready, bowls are filled and passed around. You eat slowly, the porridge warm, heavy in your stomach, preparing you for the labor ahead. Today is not just another day of fields and fences. Today, the sea calls. The ocean lies only a short walk away. Its voice carried on the wind even here. The steady hush and roar of waves against the shore. It is both friend and foe, a source of food, a path to trade, a highway for raiding. For the Vikings, the sea is as vital as the soil. To survive, the village must master both. After the meal, you join a group preparing to head toward the shore. Tools are gathered, ropes coiled neatly, axes sharpened, nets mended overnight. The men and women speak little as they work, their focus sharp, their movements efficient. Each step is measured, deliberate. The sea waits for no one. You pull your cloak tighter against the morning chill as you follow the group along a worn path leading down toward the coast. The land slopes gently, opening to a wide expanse where the sea stretches endlessly, its surface gleaming like beaten silver beneath the rising sun. The air here is sharper, tinged with salt, filling your lungs with every breath. Gulls wheel overhead, their cries harsh and familiar. On the beach, the boats rest, drawn up onto the sand, their long, slender frames like sleeping beasts. Their hulls are tarred and dark, their planks bound tight with iron rivets, their prows carved with curling designs that seem almost alive. These are more than vessels, they are lifelines. With them, fish are caught, goods are carried, journeys are made across seas that seem endless. Without them, survival would falter. The boat builders are already at work. One bends over a frame, fitting a plank carefully, tapping it into place with the butt of an axe. Another scrapes tar along the seams, sealing the wood against the water. The smell is sharp, thick, clinging to your hands as you help. It seeps into your clothes, your skin, marking you as part of the labor. Each boat is tended like a living thing. Cracks are checked, fibers tightened, sails patched where wind has torn them. The sails themselves are heavy, woven from wool, dyed with ochre or madder, their colors bold against the pale sand. They ripple faintly in the breeze as they are tested, their strength vital for what lies beyond the horizon. You are given a rope to coil, thick and rough, smelling of salt. The fibers scrape against your palms, but you work slowly, carefully, ensuring no knot will falter when the sea pulls against it. Another man sharpens the iron tips of harpoons, their edges gleaming. A woman kneels beside the nets, weaving fresh strands where old ones are frayed. The nets are vast, heavy, requiring many hands to mend and cast. As the sun climbs, preparations shift. Some boats will be launched today for fishing, while others remain on shore for further repair. You join a crew pushing one vessel down the sand, its weight immense, the wood groaning as it slides over logs placed beneath. Your muscles strain, your feet dig deep into the wet earth, until at last the boat reaches the tide, water lapping eagerly against its hull. The crew clambers aboard, steadying themselves as the boat rocks gently. You follow, gripping the edge, pulling yourself up with care. The deck is narrow, the bench is hard, the wood slick with spray. Oars are passed out, long and heavy, their blades dipped into the water with a single command. Together, you push, pulling against the sea's resistance, the boat gliding forward slowly, then with growing speed. The rhythm takes hold quickly, pull, lift, forward, pull, lift, forward. The sea resists, but the strength of many arms pushes the vessel out into deeper water. Your breath quickens, your back aches, but the rhythm steadies you. Around you, faces glisten with sweat, eyes narrowed against the glare of the sun on the waves. Out at sea, the water darkens, deep and rolling. The land shrinks behind you, the village reduced to a line of smoke rising faintly against the horizon. Here, the world is vast, open, endless. The sound of waves slapping against the hull fills your ears, mingled with the creak of wood, the grunt of effort. When the boat reaches its mark, the oars are drawn in. Nets are prepared, their heavy weight lifted carefully over the side. With a heave, they are cast, spreading wide as they fall into the sea. The ropes run fast through your hands, then tighten as the net sinks. You tie them securely, watching as the surface ripples, the sea hiding its secrets once more. Now comes the waiting. The boat drifts gently, its motion rocking you, steady and slow. The salt air stings your lips, your hair damp with spray. Gulls circle overhead, watching with greedy eyes, ready to snatch whatever rises from the depths. The crew speaks little, their focus inward, their patience hard-won. Fishing is a test of time as much as strength. After what feels like an age, the nets are hauled in. The work is grueling, rope cutting into your palms, muscles straining as you pull. The sea does not give up its bounty easily. But slowly, steadily, the net rises, water streaming from its edges, heavy with life. Fish gleam in the sunlight, thrashing silver, their scales flashing as they fight against capture. Some slip free, vanishing back into the depths, but most remain, caught in the net's weave. The crew cheer softly, relief plain on their faces. The catch is good. Food 4 days, perhaps weeks, if dried and stored well. The fish are hauled aboard, piled in the center of the boat. The smell is sharp, briny, mingling with the salt of the sea. You help untangle them from the nets, your hands slick, your arms aching. Each one represents more than a meal. It represents survival, security, a future carried one day further. When the nets are emptied, they are cast again. The cycle repeats, cast, wait, haul, sort. The sun climbs higher, the heat building. Though the sea wind cools your skin, hours pass in rhythm, time marked only by the shifting light and the weight of the catch. At last, the boat turns back toward shore. The oars are lifted once more, the rhythm resumed. The land grows larger, the village taking shape. The longhouse is dark against the sky. The boat slides onto the sand, its hull grinding against the beach. The crew leaps down, hauling the catch onto the shore. The fish are carried to racks where they will be cleaned, salted, dried in the sun and smoke. The work continues long after the boat rests, each hand busy, each step necessary. Nothing is wasted. The fish are split, their insides used for oil, their bones for tools, their flesh for food. Survival means using every piece, leaving nothing behind. By the time the sun lowers once more, the village smells of smoke and brine, of salt and sea. Nets hang drying, boats rest safe upon the sand, fish lie split and curing on wooden racks. The day's labor has secured the days ahead, though tomorrow will bring the same demands again. As night falls, you return to the longhouse, weary, salt clinging to your skin, your muscles heavy with fatigue, yet there is comfort in the ache, in knowing the sea has given what was needed. You lie down, the sound of waves still echoing faintly in your ears, lulling you toward sleep. The day begins with the smell of smoke, not from the hearth within the longhouse, but from fires lit in the open air outside. You awaken to voices carrying in the distance, Laughter mingled with the shuffle of feet, the clink of tools, and the restless bark of dogs. Today, the village is stirring earlier than usual. Today is market day. For the Viking people, survival is not only what the land and sea provide, but also what can be traded, bartered, and exchanged. A single household cannot produce everything it needs. Iron must be shaped, honey collected, cloth woven, salt gathered, furs prepared, fish cured, grain milled. Each family specializes in some part of this endless cycle, but none can master all. The village thrives because its people share and barter, weaving their lives together as tightly as the nets that bring in fish from the sea. You leave the long house and step into the clear light of morning. The sky is pale blue, the air sharp with early chill. The sun lingers low on the horizon, casting long shadows across the earth. Down the path, near the center of the settlement, people are already gathering. The open space that serves as a market is little more than a flat patch of ground, but today it hums with life. Blankets are spread upon the grass, wooden stalls erected, baskets overturned to hold goods. The ground is trampled flat by the movement of so many feet, the earth churned by the rhythm of survival. You make your way there slowly, your eyes drawn to the colors and shapes of what others have brought. Bundles of wool, dyed in earthy tones of brown, green, and rust. Baskets filled with herbs, their fragrance rising into the morning air. Piles of furs, soft to the touch, warm enough to keep the winter's chill at bay. Wooden tools gleam with fresh polish, their handles smooth, their edges sharp. From one stall, the smell of fish rises sharply, salted and dried, its briny tang unmistakable. From another, the sweet scent of honey draws you, thick combs glistening with golden light. Further still, a smith has laid out his ironwork, nails, knives, rivets, spearheads. Each piece carries the weight of long hours at the forge, hammered into shape with sweat and fire. The crowd swells as more villagers gather, voices rising in conversation. The sound of barter is not loud, but constant, a steady murmur of offers and counter-offers, of goods weighed and exchanged. Here, there is no coin, no minted silver or gold. Wealth is measured in what can be carried, in what can be made, in what can be spared. A fur might buy a measure of grain, a basket of dried fish might be traded for a small iron knife. Salt, rare and precious, might purchase nearly anything. You stop by a woman weaving cloth upon a small loom, her hands moving swiftly, the shuttle sliding back and forth with practiced grace. She greets you warmly, showing her work, its threads dyed with natural color, its weave tight and strong. You run your fingers across the fabric, feeling its weight, imagining how it would hold against the cold. She asks if you have anything to trade. You carry with you a small bundle of dried fish, taken from yesterday's catch. Carefully, you unwrap it, showing her the firm, briny pieces within. She examines them, nodding, then offers a strip of woven wool in return. The exchange is simple, wordless, marked only by a smile. You tuck the wool beneath your cloak, the fish left behind, the trade sealed without coin or tally. Nearby, a man tends a pot simmering over a small fire. The smell of stew drifts across the crowd, savory and rich, turning heads. He ladles portions into wooden bowls for those willing to spare some dried herbs, a strip of cloth, a handful of grain. Food is never given freely. Every bite carries weight, every meal a cost. The market is not only about goods, it is also where news spreads. Travelers from neighboring villages arrive with stories of what lies beyond the horizon. They speak of storms that ruined harvests, of raids that brought back wealth, of new alliances forged between distant families. Words move as swiftly as goods, carried from ear to ear, reshaped with every telling. For people who rarely journey far, the market is the pulse of the outside world. One traveler has brought with him beads, smooth and polished, their colors bright against the dull tones of wool and wood. He claims they came from far to the east, across the rivers, through lands unknown. The villagers gather close, marveling at the colors, running the beads through their fingers. They are more than decoration. They are tokens of a wider world, proof that the reach of the Vikings extends beyond the seas they call home. Another man displays amber, golden and glowing, gathered from the Baltic shores. He holds it up to the sun, the light shining through it like captured fire. The villagers murmur in awe. Amber is precious, both as ornament and as trade. It carries value far beyond these shores, sought after by those who live in lands the villagers will never see. The smith sharpens a blade before the crowd, the sound ringing clear in the air. Sparks leap from the iron, bright against the morning light. Children watch wide-eyed, captivated by the fire and strength in his hands. For them, the market is not just survival, but spectacle, a glimpse into skills they will one day learn, roles they will one day take upon themselves. You move slowly among the stalls, your senses filled with the rhythm of the market, the smell of smoke, the salt of fish, the sweetness of honey, the rough weave of cloth beneath your fingers, the slick gleam of polished amber, the rise and fall of voices, the laughter of children, the sharp bark of dogs weaving between legs. Hours pass without notice. The sun climbs higher, the air warms, the crowd thickens. Trades are made, hands shake, smiles are exchanged. Slowly, the goods upon the ground diminish, baskets empty, blankets fold, stalls close. The market is not endless. It is bound by what each family can spare, what they can risk parting with, what they can afford to seek. By midday, the crowd thins. Those who remain linger only to talk, to share news, to laugh and remember that survival is not only labor, but connection. For the Vikings, community is as vital as fish or grain. Alone, a household would falter. Together, bound by trade and trust, they endure. When you return to the longhouse, your bundle is heavier than when you left. Though the goods are different. Wool has replaced fish, salt has replaced grain, herbs have replaced furs. Each trade has carried a part of someone else's labor into your hands, just as yours has been carried into theirs. The afternoon passes quietly. The long house fills with the smell of stew, the clatter of tools, the soft murmur of voices. Outside, smoke rises from other homes, drifting into the sky, carrying the story of survival in quiet curls. As the sun lowers, you sit with others outside the hall, watching the sky darken. Children chase each other across the grass, their laughter bright. Dogs lie sprawled in the dirt, their ears twitching at the faintest sound. In the distance, the sea glimmers faintly, always waiting, always calling. Market day has ended, but its echoes linger. Tomorrow will bring new labor of fields to till, nets to mend, wood to split. But for now, there is warmth, food, and the comfort of knowing the village is bound tighter than before. Survival is never easy, but together, it becomes possible. The day begins with the rhythmic ring of iron against iron. It carries across the village long before the sun rises high, sharp and steady, a sound that tells you someone has already taken to the forge. Among the Vikings, the smith was more than a craftsman. He was a maker of life itself, for every nail in a plank, every rivet in a boat, every blade in a warrior's hand depended on his skill. You follow the sound, the faint smell of smoke and charred coal guiding your steps. The forge is little more than a rough shed, its walls blackened by years of soot, the ground worn hard beneath countless boots. Inside, the heat is thick and heavy, wrapping around you like a cloak. At the center stands the smith, his face half hidden behind sweat and shadow. His hammer rises and falls in steady rhythm, sparks flying bright into the dim air, brief flashes of fire that vanish as quickly as they appear. He works with focus, drawing out iron from the coals, glowing orange at its heart, soft enough to bend, stubborn enough to resist. With each strike, the shape changes, a blade, perhaps, or a hinge, or a nail. You watch the transformation with quiet awe, for here in this small shed, with fire, stone, and strength, the raw earth is reshaped into tools of survival. On a bench nearby lies an array of his work, simple knives with sharpened edges, their handles wrapped in leather, rivets and nails, small yet vital, each one a stitch holding the village together. Hooks for fishing lines, spearheads, gleaming even in the low light. To the untrained eye, they may appear plain. To the villagers, they are priceless. Without them, there would be no boats, no nets, no homes, no harvests. A young apprentice moves beside the smith, carrying buckets of water, fetching more coal, watching every move. His eyes are wide, his hands quick, his silence respectful. For him, every moment is a lesson, every spark a page of knowledge he will one day carry forward. Skills are not written in books here, but in muscle and memory, passed from hand to hand, generation to generation. The forge is only one piece of the village's craft. Across the settlement, others rise with their own work. You make your way to the weaver's hut, where the air hums with a softer rhythm, the clack of wood, the gentle pull of thread. Inside, a loom stands tall, its frame stretched with wool dyed in muted hues, brown, grey, a faint green. A woman works the shuttle back and forth, her hands swift, her eyes focused, the threads crossing, binding, growing into cloth. Each line is patient labor. Each strip of fabric represents days of effort, shearing sheep, cleaning wool, spinning thread, dyeing fiber, weaving it tight. When finished, the cloth will be cut and sewn into tunics, cloaks, blankets. Without such labor, the winters would be unbearable. Nearby, children card wool, pulling fibers apart with wooden paddles, fluffing them until soft. Their laughter mingles with the sound of the loom, lightening the room's steady rhythm. What might seem small, a strip of cloth, a tunic, a pair of mittens, is in truth survival, for without warm clothing, the sea winds and northern frost would strip the village bare. Outside, in the open air, another sound greets you, the rasp of wood against blade. A carpenter crouches beside a half-finished oar, shaving it smooth with practiced strokes. Around him lie planks cut for repair, beams ready for joining, smaller scraps saved for tool handles or firewood. Wood is everywhere in Viking life, as vital as iron or wool. It shapes the walls of the long house, the ribs of a ship, the handles of tools, the beams of barns. The carpenter's tools are simple, but in his hands they seem more than enough. An axe, sharp and steady, a chisel, driving deep into the grain. A saw, its teeth biting through oak with patient rhythm. You watch as he joins to planks, the seam neat and tight, strong enough to hold. It is slow work, but lasting. Ships sail because of his hands. Roofs stand because of his work. The village has its carvers as well, men and women who shape wood and bone not only into tools, but into art. You pass by one such figure, seated in the shade, knife in hand, working at a block of wood. Slowly, patiently, the shape of a horse emerges, its body small but elegant, its mane carefully marked. Around him lie other figures, birds, serpents, coils of knotwork, patterns etched with care. Some would decorate ships, others adorn brooches or cups. For the Vikings, beauty was not separate from life, but woven into it, a reminder that survival need not mean plainness. In another corner, a woman tends clay pots, their surfaces drying in the sun. Some are plain, their bellies wide, meant to store grain or water. Others carry small decorations, simple lines, carved spirals. Each pot, like the iron and cloth, is survival in its own shape. Without vessels, food spoils. Without jugs, water is harder to keep. Her hands smooth the clay, her eyes sharp for cracks. One pot lost could mean hunger when winter comes. You wander slowly back through the village, taking in each sound, each sight, the hammer's ring, the loom's rhythm, the rasp of blade on wood, the hush of clay shaped in careful hands. Each one is a note in the larger music of survival, every craft its own melody, blending into a whole. The people work with patience, none rush, none hurry. Each knows that their craft is not simply labor, but the thread that binds the village together. The smith's nails hold the carpenter's beams. The carpenter's oars carry the fisherman to sea. The fisherman's catch feeds the weaver, who spins the wool that warms the smith. All things are joined, each life depending on the other, each craft supporting the next. As the day lengthens, the sounds continue. Smoke rises from the forge, mingling with the steam of boiling dye. Chips of wood scatter across the ground, threads of wool drift in the air, the scent of wet clay rises in the sun. The village is alive with creation, with the quiet rhythm of hands shaping survival from earth, water, fire, and air. When evening comes, the work does not stop suddenly. Instead, it slows. The hammer falls less often. The loom's shuttle rests. The carpenter sets aside his chisel, the potter her clay. Tools are cleaned, fires banked, threads tied off. Children carry scraps to the hearth, laughing as they race. The village exhales, its labor for the day set aside. You return to the long house, where light glows warmly through the smoke hole. Inside, the goods of the day's work are gathered. A strip of wool, a polished knife, a smooth oar, a small carved horse. None are finished, none are final, but all are steps forward. Tomorrow, they will continue, as they have 4 generations, as they will 4 generations still to come. The fire crackles, voices murmur, dogs curl at the doorway. You stretch out upon the bench, your cloak wrapped tight. Beyond the walls, the village sleeps, cradled by the work of its people. And as your eyes close, the rhythm of the day lingers still, the ring of iron, the whisper of thread, the rasp of blade. The sounds of survival, carried forward by hands that shape not only tools, but life itself. That closes out part 6, centered on Viking craftspeople and artisans. I slowed the pace, layered in sensory immersion, and tied together how each craft was essential to survival and interconnected with the others. The creak of wood beneath you is the first sound you hear. It is slow and steady, the groan of planks bound tightly together, moving as one with the water below. The smell of salt lies thick in the air, sharp and biting, and the cold spray of the sea dampens your skin. You open your eyes to a horizon that stretches endlessly, sky and water blending into one vast, shifting canvas. You are not in the village now. You are at sea, carried upon a Viking longship, where survival depends on strength, endurance, and the will to push against the ocean's endless pull. The longship is a marvel of its age, built for both speed and endurance. Its keel slices through the water with graceful power, the hull rising and falling with each wave. Around you, carved wooden planks fit seamlessly together, bound by iron rivets, sealed with tar and wool. Every joint bears the mark of the carpenter's care, every nail the smith's steady hand. It is not only a vessel, it is a lifeline, a fragile shell against the vast, untamed sea. You sit among the crew, a mix of farmers, craftsmen, and warriors turned sailors for the journey. Each man grips an oar, its handle worn smooth, the wood damp with salt and sweat. When the sail is raised, wind fills the great square of cloth, pushing the ship forward with invisible force. But when the wind falters, when the sea stills, it is the arms of the crew that drive the vessel onward. Rowing is rhythm, breath, and will. Each pull must match the others, each man moving as one, the long ship gliding only when harmony is kept. The sea's both ally and enemy. It carries you swiftly when the winds are right, but it punishes any lapse in vigilance. The waves slap against the hull, sometimes gently, sometimes with a force that shudders through the entire vessel. A sudden storm can rise without warning, the sky darkening, wind shrieking, rain falling in sheets that sting the skin. In such moments, survival depends on quick hands and steady courage. The sail must be lowered, the ropes tied fast, the oars pulled in before they snap. Men crouch low, clinging to the ship's frame, trusting the carpenter's craft to hold as the ocean roars. Food is carried in sacks and barrels, but never enough for ease. Dried fish, hard bread, smoked meat, each meal is measured, rationed carefully, for the journey is long and the sea offers no certainty. Fresh water is kept in wooden casks, its taste often stale, its quantity precious. When storms delay progress, when the wind resists, the crew stretches their provisions thin, each man taking only what he must to keep his strength. Hunger is a constant shadow, pressing against the belly, whispering of weakness. Yet, when fortune smiles, the sea itself offers food. Nets are cast over the side, their cords sinking deep, drawn up with silver fish writhing in the air. Hooks are baited, lines pulled, hands working quickly to cut and salt the catch before it spoils. Gulls wheel above, their cries sharp and greedy, waiting for scraps thrown into the water. A successful catch lifts spirits, for nothing renews strength like the taste of fresh food after days of stale bread. The ship is not large. There is no private space, no true rest. Men sleep where they sit, cloaks pulled over them, bodies curled on the wooden benches. The planks are hard, the air always damp, the cold seeping into bones. At night, the stars are their only shelter, the sky vast and unyielding, the constellations used as guides. In cloudy weather, they read the sea itself, the color of the water, the flight of birds, the drift of seaweed, signs written into nature, understood by those who must trust their lives to it. Every man aboard has his duty. Some row, others steer, others watch the horizon for land or threat. The helmsman stands at the stern, his hand steady on the steering oar, his eyes fixed ahead. His is a task of endless concentration, for a single mistake can send the ship off course or onto hidden rocks. The lookout calls warnings, his gaze scanning foresails, friend or foe, or for the dark outline of land. Cooperation is not optional. On the sea, one man's failure endangers all. The dangers are not only storms and hunger. Other ships may appear on the horizon, their sails bright against the blue. Sometimes they bring trade, voices calling across the water, goods exchanged, words shared. Other times, they bring battle. Then, the oars are drawn in, shields raised along the rails, weapons pulled from their resting places. The sea becomes a battlefield, the longship both fortress and prison. Escape impossible, courage the only choice. Yet, not all voyages are raids or battles. Many are long journeys of exploration and trade, carrying goods across seas to distant shores. In the hold of the ship lie furs, wool, amber, and iron, ready to be exchanged for silver, wine, spices, or silk. The men row not only for survival, but for promise, the chance of wealth, of glory, of stories to bring home. Time at sea blurs, days and nights flow into one another, the rhythm of rowing and sailing marking the hours. You lose track of time, measuring life only by the wind, the waves, the hunger in your stomach, the strength in your arms. The sun rises, the sun sets, the stars turn above, and the ship moves steadily forward. There is no pause, no true rest, only the endless motion of the sea. Still, there are moments of quiet beauty. The water lies glass smooth at dawn, the horizon glowing gold. Dolphins leap beside the ship, their bodies arching graceful and free. The northern lights ripple in the sky at night, curtains of green and red shimmering across the heavens, filling the crew with awe and silence. In such moments, the hardships fade, replaced by wonder at the vastness of the world and the smallness of those who dare to sail it. When at last land is sighted, the crew erupts in relief. A dark line grows on the horizon, a coast, a harbour, the promise of rest. The ship glides forward, oars steady, eyes fixed on the shore. Feet touch solid ground again, knees trembling, bodies weary but alive. Supplies are gathered, repairs begun, trade made, stories told. The sea has tested them, as it always does, and they have endured. For the Viking, the longship is more than wood and sail. It is freedom and danger, hunger and hope. To survive upon it is to live at the edge of the world, where every wave is a challenge, every gust of wind a gift, every horizon a promise. And as you close your eyes, that night on land, the sound of the sea still echoes in your mind, the slap of waves, the groan of timber, the steady rhythm of oars, the song of survival upon the water. The horizon is quiet at first, just a strip of pale light rising over the water, the sun climbing into the morning sky. The sea is calm, the oars steady, the rhythm of the crew slow and practiced. But beneath that calm, tension hangs heavy. For today is not a journey of trade or a search for fish. Today is a raid. The ship does not drift without purpose. It cuts forward, closer to a coast that waits, unaware. Your fingers tighten around the wooden shaft of your oar. Every man aboard feels the same mix of fear and anticipation. The longship is heavy with weapons, shields stacked along its sides, spears and axes resting near every bench. Leather helmets glint faintly, iron rivets catching the first rays of the sun. This is not a journey for survival alone. It is survival sharpened by risk, a chance to gain wealth, to prove yourself, or to die. The helmsman whispers orders, his voice low. The sail is drawn tight, the oars pulled in for silence. You glide across the water, the ship moving almost without sound. Ahead, the outline of a small settlement grows clearer. Smoke rises from chimneys. The faint call of animals drifts across the shore. To them, it is an ordinary day. To you, it is the moment between stillness and chaos. The ship draws closer, beaching itself on the sand with a heavy scrape. Men leap into the shallows, boots splashing, weapons in hand. The shock is everything, the speed, the suddenness, the sound of war bursting from silence. You follow, heart hammering, axe heavy in your grip. Shouts rise from the village, cries of alarm and fear, but it is already too late. The raid has begun. Survival in this moment is not only strength of arm, it is awareness, speed, the ability to move with the group and not falter. Houses burn quickly, thatched roofs catch in moments, smoke billowing into the sky. Livestock scatter, children scream, villagers scramble in panic. Some fight back, desperate with whatever they can hold, but most flee. Your crew sweeps through, their movements honed by repetition, every man knowing what to take: silver, tools, food, cloth, anything of value. The air fills with the clash of metal and the cries of the frightened. You move quickly, eyes darting, scanning for threat and opportunity. A villager lunges with a pitchfork, his face twisted with fear. Instinct drives your arm, your weapon rising, striking. The moment brutal and fast. Your breath comes heavy. The reality of survival is this: you cannot hesitate, cannot waver, not if you want to live. Amid the chaos, you see comrades fall. A spear catches one in the side. Another is struck down with a stone. Even in victory, death is present. There is no guarantee of return, no certainty of safety. The raid may bring riches, but it demands its price in blood. You push forward, your sense is sharp. The heat of fire presses against your skin. The crackle of burning wood fills your ears. The smell is overwhelming. Smoke, sweat, blood, fear, mingling into one thick haze that clings to your throat. You grab what you can: a pouch of silver, a sack of grain, a piece of cloth, moving quickly, never lingering. The call comes suddenly, the signal to retreat. The raid is swift, always swift. To linger is death. Reinforcements will come, or the village will gather courage, and the tide could turn. Already, men run back toward the ship, their arms heavy with spoils, their shouts urgent. You turn, your legs burning, your lungs aching, stumbling over the uneven ground as you race back to the beach. The longship waits, its bow dark against the smoke-filled sky. Men leap aboard, pulling one another up, tossing sacks of goods, dragging bodies when they can. Arrows whistle past, some finding their mark, others splashing harmlessly into the water. The sail rises again, the oars dig deep, the ship pushes away, leaving behind fire and ruin. Your chest heaves as you collapse onto the bench, your hands shaking. The sounds of battle still echo in your ears, the cries, the clash, the roar of fire. Your body trembles with both relief and exhaustion. Around you, men check their wounds, tie cloth around cuts, murmur thanks to the gods for survival. The spoils are counted quickly: silver, livestock, food, the measure of success against the lives lost. There is no celebration yet, only silence. Each man withdraws into himself, thoughts heavy, the images of the raid burned into memory. The faces of those you struck down will linger, shadows that return in quiet moments. Yet survival hardens you. To live in the Viking Age is to accept that life and death are bound tightly together, that every victory carries its cost. Hours pass, the shore fading behind you, the sea stretching out once more. The crew slowly begins to speak, voices low at first, then louder. Stories are already forming, tales that will be told around fires, boasting of courage, of silver taken, of battle survived. You feel the weight of it all, the fear, the violence, the relief, and you know this, too, is survival. But you also know the risks are not over. The sea itself remains. Storms may rise. Enemy ships may appear. Hunger may gnaw before you return home. The raid is only one part of the journey. To live long enough to spend your silver, to tell your story, You must endure far more than the clash of axes. As the sun dips low, casting the water in red and gold, you close your eyes, the longship rocking gently. Around you, men murmur prayers to Odin, to Thor, to Frey, thanking them for strength, asking for safe passage home. You, too, whisper into the wind, your voice quiet, unsure if it is heard. And for a moment, despite the blood on your hands, despite the ache in your body, despite the smoke still clinging to your clothes, you feel only one thing: relief. You have survived another day. The sea has been long, the waves relentless, the air sharp with salt and spray. Days pass as one, oars rising and falling, the sail straining against the wind, the crew silent in their exhaustion. But finally, after endless water and sky, the shoreline appears. The familiar sweep of cliffs, the dark line of forest, the smoke rising faintly from longhouses. The ship glides into the fjord, the mountains standing tall on either side. The water calm after the wide open sea. Home, the longship scrapes against the pebbled shore, its hull groaning as it settles into shallow water. Men leap down, boots splashing, their movements slower now, heavy with fatigue. The spoils of the raid are carried off, sacks of grain, bundles of cloth, iron tools, and silver gleaming in the dim light. They are lifted with care, but not with joy. Every man knows the true cost of what lies in those sacks. You step onto solid ground, your legs unsteady after so many days on shifting water. The earth feels firm beneath your feet, the air different, thick with the scent of pine, of damp soil, of smoke curling from village fires. It is a smell you know, a smell of safety and of home. But it is not simple, for survival is not only about what you endure at sea or in raids. It is about returning and facing the life that waits, the hunger that persists, the work that begins again. The villagers gather quickly, their faces anxious, their voices rising in questions: who has returned, who has not? Wives, children, parents crowd the beach, their eyes searching, their hands trembling. Relief floods some faces as they find loved ones stepping from the ship. Others break in silence, their eyes falling on empty space, their grief sharp and immediate. Survival for one always means loss for another. The spoils are divided. The Jarl takes his share, the leader who made the raid possible. The rest is split among the crew, each man receiving a portion according to his standing, his skill, his contribution. Silver is counted, cloth unrolled, food distributed, animals led away. For the village, this wealth means survival through the lean months. It means meals on the table, tools for work, goods for trade. But for you, holding your share, the weight of it feels strange. These objects carry the shadow of fire, of screams, of blood. You return to your longhouse, pushing open the wooden door, stepping into the familiar darkness. The fire glows faintly in the hearth, smoke curling toward the hole in the roof. The air is thick with warmth and the smell of stew. Children look up as you enter, eyes wide, faces breaking into smiles. Hands clutch at your cloak, voices rise in welcome. Your heart eases, if only a little. Here, in this small space, survival takes on another meaning. The days that follow are filled with work. Weapons must be cleaned, mended, oiled. The longship is hauled higher onto the beach, its wood scraped and checked for damage. Nets are repaired, fields tended, animals cared for. Life resumes, steady and unyielding. The raid becomes a story, told again and again by the fire. Details shifting with each telling, becoming larger, grander, sharper. Yet beneath the words, the truth lingers, quiet and heavy. Survival after return is not only physical, It is emotional, spiritual. Men wake in the night, haunted by faces, by cries, by the smell of smoke. Some drink deeply, trying to drown the memories. Others turn to the gods, offering silver at the temple, whispering prayers to Odin, to Thor, to Freya, asking for forgiveness, or perhaps simply for peace. The skalds sing songs of victory, but the silence between those songs is where the true weight rests. Your own survival takes shape in the small tasks of daily life. You mend your cloak, sit with your children, share stories with neighbors. You eat the bread baked from grain carried home on the longship. Sip the broth thickened with herbs from your own soil. Each mouthful is both comfort and reminder. What you eat was bought with struggle, with risk, with life itself. Winter approaches quickly. The days grow shorter, the air colder, frost creeping across the fields. The silver gained in the raid is used to trade for supplies. Salt to preserve fish, iron for tools, wool for clothing. The survival of the whole village depends not on a single raid, but on how well these spoils are stretched, managed, and shared. Inside the longhouse, nights lengthen, the fire burns low, the smoke curling into the rafters. You sit in the flickering glow, carving wood, repairing tools, listening to the skald weave tales of gods and heroes. The children's eyes shine as they listen, their worlds filled with adventure and magic, while you, older and wearier, know the truth beneath those tales. Survival is not about glory, but about endurance. When storms batter the coast, you are grateful not to be at sea. The wind howls, the snow falls thick, and you huddle close to the fire, wrapped in wool, sharing heat with your family. The longship sits idle on the shore, its prow rimed with frost, waiting for another season. For now, life is quieter, but not easier. Food must be rationed, fuel conserved, sickness endured. Survival is never certain, not even here at home. In quieter moments, you think of the men who did not return. Their places are empty, their stories unfinished. Their families struggle, helped by the village when possible, but always feeling the absence. You wonder if your own story will end that way one day. If your children will stand on the beach, searching for your face in the crowd, and find only empty space. The thought lingers like a shadow, but it does not stop you. For in this world, survival is not guaranteed. It is fought for, day after day, in every action, every breath. The raid fades into memory, but its mark remains. The silver you carry, the tools you use, the food you eat, all of it tied to that day, to the smoke and fire and chaos. And you know, as surely as you know the feel of the earth beneath your feet, that it will happen again. Another season, another journey, another raid. Because survival in the Viking Age is not about one battle, one harvest, one winter. It is about the endless cycle of risk and reward, danger and endurance, death and life. And as the snow deepens, the nights stretch longer, and the fire burns low, you settle into that truth. You are alive, for now. You have food, warmth, family, a roof above your head. And in this world, that is survival. The sea has been long, the waves relentless, the air sharp with salt and spray. Days pass as one, oars rising and falling, the sail straining against the wind, the crew silent in their exhaustion. But finally, after endless water and sky, the shoreline appears. The familiar sweep of cliffs, the dark line of forest, the smoke rising faintly from longhouses. The ship glides into the fjord, the mountains standing tall on either side. The water calm after the wide open sea, home. The longship scrapes against the pebbled shore, its hull groaning as it settles into shallow water. Men leap down, boots splashing, their movements slower now, heavy with fatigue. The spoils of the raid are carried off, sacks of grain, bundles of cloth, iron tools, and silver gleaming in the dim light. They are lifted with care, but not with joy. Every man knows the true cost of what lies in those sacks. You step onto solid ground, your legs unsteady after so many days on shifting water. The earth feels firm beneath your feet, the air different, thick with the scent of pine, of damp soil, of smoke curling from village fires. It is a smell you know, a smell of safety and of home. But it is not simple, for survival is not only about what you endure at sea or in raids. It is about returning and facing the life that waits, the hunger that persists, the work that begins again. The villagers gather quickly, their faces anxious, their voices rising in questions: who has returned, who has not? Wives, children, parents crowd the beach, their eyes searching, their hands trembling. Relief floods some faces as they find loved ones stepping from the ship. Others break in silence, their eyes falling on empty space, their grief sharp and immediate. Survival for one always means loss for another. The spoils are divided. The Jarl takes his share, the leader who made the raid possible. The rest is split among the crew, each man receiving a portion according to his standing, his skill, his contribution. Silver is counted, cloth unrolled, food distributed, animals led away. For the village, this wealth means survival through the lean months. It means meals on the table, tools for work, goods for trade. But for you, holding your share, the weight of it feels strange. These objects carry the shadow of fire, of screams, of blood. You return to your longhouse, pushing open the wooden door, stepping into the familiar darkness. The fire glows faintly in the hearth, smoke curling toward the hole in the roof. The air is thick with warmth and the smell of stew. Children look up as you enter, eyes wide, faces breaking into smiles. Hands clutch at your cloak, voices rise in welcome. Your heart eases, if only a little. Here, in this small space, survival takes on another meaning. The days that follow are filled with work. Weapons must be cleaned, mended, oiled. The longship is hauled higher onto the beach, its wood scraped and checked for damage. Nets are repaired, fields tended, animals cared for. Life resumes, steady and unyielding. The raid becomes a story, told again and again by the fire. Details shifting with each telling, becoming larger, grander, sharper. Yet beneath the words, the truth lingers, quiet and heavy. Survival after return is not only physical, it is emotional, spiritual. Men wake in the night, haunted by faces, by cries, by the smell of smoke. Some drink deeply, trying to drown the memories. Others turn to the gods, offering silver at the temple, whispering prayers to Odin, to Thor, to Freya, asking for forgiveness, or perhaps simply for peace. The skalds sing songs of victory, but the silence between those songs is where the true weight rests. Your own survival takes shape in the small tasks of daily life. You mend your cloak, sit with your children, share stories with neighbors. You eat the bread baked from grain carried home on the longship, sip the broth thickened with herbs from your own soil. Each mouthful is both comfort and reminder. What you eat was bought with struggle, with risk, with life itself. Winter approaches quickly, the days grow shorter, the air colder, frost creeping across the fields. The silver gained in the raid is used to trade for supplies, salt to preserve fish, iron for tools, wool for clothing. The survival of the whole village depends not on a single raid, but on how well these spoils are stretched, managed, and shared. Inside the longhouse, Nights lengthen, the fire burns low, the smoke curling into the rafters. You sit in the flickering glow, carving wood, repairing tools, listening to the scald with tales of gods and heroes. The children's eyes shine as they listen, their worlds filled with adventure and magic, while you, older and wearier, know the truth beneath those tales. Survival is not about glory, but about endurance. When storms batter the coast, you are grateful not to be at sea. The wind howls, the snow falls thick, and you huddle close to the fire, wrapped in wool, sharing heat with your family. The longship sits idle on the shore, its prow rimed with frost, waiting for another season. For now, life is quieter, but not easier. Food must be rationed, fuel conserved, sickness endured. Survival is never certain, not even here at home. In quieter moments, you think of the men who did not return. Their places are empty, their stories unfinished. Their families struggle, helped by the village when possible, but always feeling the absence. You wonder if your own story will end that way one day. If your children will stand on the beach, searching for your face in the crowd, and find only empty space. The thought lingers like a shadow, but it does not stop you. For in this world, survival is not guaranteed. It is fought for, day after day, in every action, every breath. The raid fades into memory, but its mark remains. The silver you carry, the tools you use, the food you eat, all of it tied to that day, to the smoke and fire and chaos. And you know, as surely as you know the feel of the earth beneath your feet, that it will happen again. Another season, another journey, another raid. Because survival in the Viking Age is not about one battle, one harvest, one winter. It is about the endless cycle of risk and reward, danger and endurance, death and life. And as the snow deepens, the nights stretch longer, and the fire burns low, you settle into that truth. You are alive, for now. You have food, warmth, family, a roof above your head. And in this world, that is survival. The night is long, the cold unrelenting. In the Viking Age, winter is not simply a season, but a test, a relentless trial of patience, endurance, and community. The sun rises late, hangs low, and fades quickly, offering little warmth, only pale light across a landscape buried in snow and silence. Each day is measured not in hours of work, but in how well you can preserve the strength to see another dawn. The longhouse is your fortress, thick wooden walls, sod laid over the roof, smoke curling from the central hearth. These are your defenses against the cold that gnaws at the world outside. The fire burns always, day and night, never left to die, for without it the longhouse becomes a tomb of frost. But keeping it burning means fuel, and fuel means constant labor. You wake to the creak of timber, the hiss of embers, the low murmur of people stirring in the half-dark. The air is heavy with smoke, caught under the roof beams, stinging your eyes. The floor is packed dirt, hard and cold, and the furs you slept under smell of sweat, smoke, and the musk of animals. Your breath leaves a mist in the air, a reminder that even inside, the cold is never truly banished. The first task of the morning is simple but vital, stoking the fire. The embers glow faint, so you kneel, feeding small twigs and chips of wood, coaxing them into flame. When the flames rise again, licking at the larger logs, the warmth spreads slowly. Relief is immediate, but fleeting, because you know how quickly the fire consumes. Wood is precious, cut and stacked months ago, hauled from forests now buried in snow. Every log burned is one less for the days still to come. Food is rationed carefully. The harvest was long past, the hunting season closed by ice and storms. What you have now is what you saved: dried fish, smoked meat, bread baked hard, and stored in sacks, ale brewed from barley, sometimes already sour, but still drinkable. Each meal is measured, each bite considered. Too much, and you risk hunger before spring. Too little, and weakness creeps in, dulling your strength, making work unbearable. You sit near the fire, tearing a piece of bread hard enough to strain your teeth. A bowl of thin stew simmers, a mix of turnips, onions, perhaps a scrap of meat if you're fortunate. The broth is thin, flavored more by smoke than spice, but it warms the body. Around you, others eat in silence, the crackle of fire filling the air. Children slurp greedily, their faces smeared, while elders chew slowly, their eyes distant, remembering winters before. Outside, work continues even in the harshest cold. The animals must be tended: cattle, sheep, goats huddled in pens, their bodies steaming in the freezing air. Their survival is as vital as your own. You trudge through snow, breaking ice from the water troughs, scattering hay for them to eat. The air is sharp, cutting at your lungs, your fingers numb even through thick wool gloves. Each movement is slow, deliberate, conserving energy, because the cold saps it as surely as hunger. The tasks are endless, even in a world locked by frost. Nets must be repaired by the firelight, axes sharpened, clothing mended, tools cleaned and stored. Women spin wool, weave cloth, patch tunics worn thin. Men carve handles, repair sleds, craft rope from twisted fibers. Children gather what kindling they can, scouring frozen ground for scraps overlooked before the snow fell. Everyone contributes, for idleness in winter is as dangerous as famine. And yet, for all the work, the days are long with waiting. With fields frozen and seas impassable, there is no farming, no fishing, no raiding. The pace of life slows, trapped within the walls of the longhouse. Restlessness creeps in like the cold, stirring quarrels, fraying tempers. Stories are told to fill the silence, sagas recited by the fire, voices rising and falling with tales of heroes, gods and monsters. The skald's words remind you that endurance itself is a form of victory, that patience is as much a warrior's trait as courage. But there are moments when survival teeters on the edge, when snow falls heavy, collapsing roofs, blocking paths, smothering what little forage remains. When storms roar for days, rattling doors, howling through cracks, filling the air with fear. When illness strikes, coughs deep and rattling, fevers burning through the night. In these times, survival becomes uncertain, hope is fragile, and the last ember in the hearth. Illness is perhaps the greatest enemy. The cold weakens the body, the smoke thickens the lungs, and once sickness spreads, it is hard to stop. Herbs are boiled, poultices made, prayers whispered to the gods, but often it is the body alone that decides. A child's cough can echo through the hall like a drumbeat of dread. An elder lying still, too weak to rise, becomes a shadow of what is to come. Each winter, some are lost, their bodies carried out into the snow, laid beneath mounds of stone or earth. Survival is never promised, and yet there are small victories. The night when a storm ends and the stars blaze sharp above, the air so still it feels holy. The morning when a rabbit is caught in a snare, its meat a rare gift. The evening when the last log is thrown onto the fire, and you realize spring is not far now, that you have endured another dark season. These moments are survival distilled, proof that endurance is its own reward. The bond between kin grows strongest in winter. Families huddle close, sharing warmth, sharing food, sharing silence. Arguments flare, yes, but they pass, for there is no room for division. You rely on each other utterly. The old teach the young, the strong protect the weak, and all give what they can. Survival is not the work of one, but of all. The longhouse itself becomes a body, each person a part, each action vital. Winter strips life down to its essence. There is no room for waste, no room for vanity. You wear the same wool tunic day after day, patched and mended until it is more stitched than cloth. Your boots are stiff with frost, your cloak heavy with smoke. You smell of sweat, of animals, of the fire that clings to every fibre. Your hair is greasy, your beard tangled, your hands rough and cracked, and yet, these are not flaws but proofs, signs that you endure, that you survive. The cold presses in from every side, but the fire holds, the food dwindles, but it lasts. The nights stretch endless, but the dawn always comes. Winter is a battle fought, not with sword and shield, but with patience, with care, with the will to keep going. And in the Viking world, this quiet entrance is as honored as the clash of steel. As the snow begins to soften, as the ice breaks along the fjord, the first birds return, their cries sharp and joyful in the thin air. The people step outside, blinking in the weak but growing sun. The ground is muddy, the air still cold, but the promise of spring is there. You have survived. The long, dark trial is ending. And with survival comes renewal, new labor, new risks, but also new hope. In the Viking Age, winter was not an enemy to defeat, but a test to endure. It demanded respect, discipline, and faith. It stripped life to its barest, reminding you of what truly mattered: fire, food, kin, and courage. And when spring returned, those who had endured carried with them not only scars, but strength, the quiet strength of those who had looked into the long dark and lived. The long, dark season has tested you, worn you down, stripped your body of softness and your spirit of illusions, yet somehow you are still here. The fire has never gone out, the food has lasted, and no sickness lingered in the long house. It has not taken you. And now, at last, there are signs that the world itself is loosening its frozen grip. It begins quietly, so subtly that you almost doubt it. One morning, as you step outside into the brittle air, the ground feels different beneath your boots, not the hard crunch of snow alone, but the soft give of earth thawing beneath. Meltwater trickles from the roof, dripping in slow rhythm into the mud below. A raven cries from the tree line, its wings beating black against the pale sky. The sun lingers just a little longer each day, its light warmer, its strength slowly returning. Inside the longhouse, a shift stirs. Where once the air was thick with smoke and weariness, now there is murmuring, planning, a cautious kind of energy. Bundles of tools are unwrapped, inspected, sharpened again. Broken handles are replaced. New rope is twisted from flax fibers saved through winter. The long sleep is ending. Work will return, and with it the familiar rhythm of survival in another form. The animals are the first to taste freedom. Pens are cleaned, bedding replaced, and when the snow recedes enough, the sheep are driven out, their bleats sharp against the hills. They stumble into the wheatgrass, tearing eagerly at the fresh shoots. The goats follow, clambering over rocks, as though to prove their resilience. The cattle move slower, bellowing low, their breath still steaming in the morning air. Their survival has been as uncertain as yours, and their renewed strength is as much a victory as your own. Your work, too, begins outside. The fields lie fallow beneath a thin skin of frost, but the thaw has begun. Stones must be cleared, branches hauled aside, furrows marked where the plough will cut. The soil is dark and wet, clinging to your boots, promising fertility, but also toil. Every year begins this way, with the careful preparation of earth that will either feed you or starve you. Seeds saved from the last harvest are measured carefully, their smallness belying their worth. To scatter them carelessly would be to gamble with the year's survival. The river runs again, breaking through its frozen shell, carrying ice downstream in jagged shards. You go to the bank with others, axes in hand, breaking away what remains, letting the current run free. Its roar is a song of life returning, a sound almost forgotten after months of silence. Soon, nets will be cast again, fish drawn from the water to replace the dried and smoked stores that have dwindled almost to nothing. With the thaw comes mess, mud clings to everything, boots, clothes, carts, making each task heavier. Paths once solid are now bogs, and every step is a reminder of how hard one progress will be. Yet even this mud is cause for relief, because it is proof that the ice has broken, that the earth breathes again. Children laugh as they splash through puddles, their shouts echoing through the village, the sound like a new kind of music after the muffled stillness of winter. Inside the longhouse, chores shift too. The heavy winter cloaks are beaten clean of soot and ash, hung outside to air in the weak sun. Tools used for weaving and sewing are brought near the light, where nimble fingers can repair garments and patch what the cold tore apart. The hearth still burns, but its smoke is less oppressive now. Windows sometimes cracked to let in air. Meals, still plain, grow slightly richer with the addition of fresh herbs sprouting early from pots by the door. There is a sense of renewal, but also urgency. Winter may have ended, but hunger has not. The stores are thin, the barrels nearly empty, and until the first real harvest comes, every mouthful remains precious. Spring is not abundance. It is the fragile bridge between scarcity and plenty. The people know this, and though spirits lift, caution still guides their hands. And yet, in quiet moments, there is joy. A walk to the edge of the forest reveals green pushing through the earth, stubborn, uncertain. Birds call overhead, their songs carrying the promise of nesting, of eggs, of meat and feathers to come. The air smells different, still cold, still sharp, but with a dampness, a sweetness that hints at warmth. You pause in these moments, letting the feeling sink into you, reminding yourself why you endured the long dark in the first place. Work spreads to the coastline as well. Boats, hauled up and left to rest through the snow, are dragged down toward the water. Their planks are checked for rot, their seams sealed with pitch. Nets are laid out, knots repaired, weights fastened. Soon, the sea will call again, first for fishing, and later, perhaps, for trade or raids. But now, in the turning of the season, the sea is a source of sustenance, the lifeline that keeps hunger at bay. At night, the longhouse feels different too. The fire burns not just for warmth, but for comfort, for companionship. People linger, voices louder, songs sometimes rising in the dim light. A skald might recite tales of Thor battling giants, or Odin wandering the world in disguise. These stories, told all winter as reminders of endurance, now feel like celebrations, affirmations of strength proven true. The air still smells of smoke, of sweat, of animals, but there is laughter too, rolling through the rafters like another kind of flame. Spring is not without dangers. Floods can sweep through from melting snow, drowning fields and sweeping away paths. Wolves prowl the thawed woods, lean and desperate after their own lean season. Illness still lingers, the damp air seeping into lungs, bringing coughs that echo in the night. But where winter was an unyielding enemy, spring feels like a battling win, a challenge rather than a sentence. There are rituals, too, to mark this renewal. Offerings are made to the gods, sometimes a carved figure set at the edge of the field, sometimes a libation poured into the earth. The people ask for favor, for the crops to rise strong, for the animals to multiply, for the seas to be generous. These rituals are not performed lightly. They are the threads of belief woven through daily survival, acts that tie human effort to divine will. You stand at the edge of a newly plowed field, the soil dark and wet beneath your boots. In your hand, you hold a small bag of seeds, each one a fragment of the future. With careful steps, you scatter them, letting them fall into the furrows, covering them with soil. Your movements are slow, deliberate, as though each seed is a prayer, each handful a promise. Around you, others do the same. Their faces solemn, their hands steady. Together, you place your trust in the earth, in the cycle that has sustained your people for generations. As the sun dips low, casting long shadows across the fields, you return to the longhouse. The air is cool, the ground damp, but the day has been full, heavy with labor yet lighter than the long nights of winter. You sit by the fire once more, sharing bread, sipping ale, listening to the hum of conversation. Outside, the earth breathes again, and though hunger still presses, though work still weighs, there is a sense of momentum, of life turning forward. Spring in the Viking Age is not gentle. It is muddy, dangerous, and uncertain. But it carries with it the one thing winter could not offer: hope. Hope that the seeds will grow. Hope that the animals will thrive. Hope that the sea will provide. Hope that the gods will favor you. That the world will turn once more toward abundance. And so you sit, listening to the crackle of fire, feeling the weight of exhaustion in your limbs, and know that survival is not just about enduring the cold. It is about stepping into the mud, lifting the plow, casting the net, planting the seed. It is about believing, even when the nights are long and the hunger sharp, that life will return, because it always does. The thaw has fully arrived, and the world smells different now, not just of wet earth and melting snow, but of promise. It is still crisp in the mornings, the frost retreating slowly from low-lying fields, but the air carries warmth that hints at longer days and softer nights. The sun climbs higher, brushing the tops of the hills with pale gold, and you can almost hear the sigh of the land as it shakes off winter's chill. Your day begins before the sun fully rises, though its light is already brushing the horizon in pale streaks. The longhouse is quieter now than in the heart of winter. Some are still asleep, their bodies stiff from labor or illness, while others have already begun stirring. You take a deep breath, smelling the lingering smoke of the fire, the faint tang of animals, the subtle sharpness of drying herbs near the doorway. There is comfort here, in these familiar scents, even as the day ahead promises toil. Stepping outside, your boots sink slightly into the softened soil. Mud clings to the leather and to your ankles, stubborn and wet, a reminder that the earth itself has shifted. The fields are ready, though far from prepared. Stones that winter left buried must be cleared, stray branches collected and stacked, the earth turned with the plough. Your hands grip the handles tightly, the wood rough against your palms, the motion repetitive and grounding. Each furrow cut is a small act of shaping the future, planting hope alongside seeds. Nearby, the other villagers move with similar purpose. Some haul water from the nearby river, filling clay jars and wooden barrels to sustain the livestock and the longhouse through the coming weeks. Others tend to animals, inspecting hooves, brushing coats, murmuring softly to creatures that endured the long winter alongside humans. The goats, agile and nimble, leap over small rises, nimbly avoiding patches of lingering frost. Sheep are herded carefully, their thick wool still carrying traces of straw and mud. Each movement is a lesson in patience, each breath a quiet acknowledgement of survival. You take a moment to look toward the forest, where the first shoots of green poke through the thawing ground. The trees are bare, their branches etched sharply against the sky, but you know that buds are forming, slow and almost imperceptible. Soon, birds will return in numbers, singing from high branches, building nests, filling the empty hollows with the sounds of life. You close your eyes for a brief moment, listening to the rhythm of the land, letting the whisper of renewal sink in. The ploughing continues. The soil is heavy and damp, clinging stubbornly to the iron tip of your plough, dragging behind like resistance. You work in tandem with others, a rhythm forming naturally. Turn, press, step, repeat. Conversation is minimal, punctuated by occasional advice or exclamations when a stubborn stone or root interrupts the flow. Your muscles ache, but the ache is familiar, almost comforting, proof that you are alive, that your body is still capable, still useful. By mid-morning, the sun has climbed higher, and you pause briefly to drink from your water skin, feeling the cool liquid chase away the dry fatigue that has settled in your throat. Around you, the village hums with similar activity. Children are tasked with gathering kindling, stacking small branches carefully for later fires. Some help carry fresh water or pull small sleds of mud and stone from one field to another. Their energy contrasts with your own measured labor, reminding you that the cycle of life is ongoing, and that teaching the young these rhythms is as important as performing them. Breakfast, when it arrives, is a small affair but hearty. Bread, dense and slightly damp from storage, is sliced and shared. Small chunks of cheese, preserved from the winter, provide richness. Occasionally, a bit of smoked fish or dried meat is added, a treat after months of reliance on staples. You sit on a low bench near the hearth, the sun now spilling through the open doorway, warming your back as the fire hums gently behind you. Conversation is subdued, focused on the work ahead, on what has been done, and what still awaits. After the meal, attention returns to the fields. Seed planting is at the heart of spring work, the task that will dictate whether this year will bring bounty or hardship. Each seed is precious, carried carefully in small pouches, scattered evenly along the furrows you have turned. Your hands move slowly, deliberately, almost ceremonially. You press the soil lightly over the seeds, whispering small blessings under your breath, a habit learned from elders and schools who insist that work and spirituality are inseparable. Nearby, other villagers engage in complementary tasks. Some repair fences, checking posts, replacing broken rails, ensuring that animals will be contained as they graze. Others mend clothing, their nimble fingers threading wool and flax to cover the wear and tear of winter. The longhouse sees bursts of activity, pots scrubbed clean, utensils repaired, herbs replanted near the fire to grow in the early sunlight. Even the small, mundane tasks are imbued with significance, each one a step toward survival, toward continuity. By afternoon, the river calls again. You make your way downstream, nets and lines in hand. The water runs swiftly, broken here and there by ice that has yet to completely melt. Fishing is a precise rhythm of patience and motion, understanding the current, the depth, the habits of the creatures that swim within. A fish is caught, wriggling in your hands, and for a moment, the tension of labor gives way to satisfaction. It is a small victory, a reward earned, and it reminds you that survival is not only about enduring the cold, but also about knowing the land and its creatures intimately. Evening comes gently, the sun dips low, casting long shadows across the fields, painting the village in hues of amber and ochre. Work slows, muscles exhausted, hands raw and dirtied from the day. Meals are prepared with care, soup simmered over the fire, vegetables gathered from the first sprouts of early planting, grains soaked and boiled. The aroma fills the longhouse, mingling with smoke, sweat, and the lingering scent of animals. It is a rich, earthy fragrance, grounding, familiar, and strangely comforting. As the meal ends, the village gathers in the main room of the longhouse. Stories are told, sometimes whispered, sometimes sung. A Skald may recount a tale of Odin wandering the world, of Thor striking giants, of gods and mortals intertwined in feats of courage and cunning. Laughter rises and falls, punctuated by sighs of fatigue and the occasional clatter of a dropped utensil. You listen, enraptured, feeling the rhythm of human life echoing in the space, a counterpoint to the rhythm of nature outside. Night deepens, and you step outside once more. The stars are sharp against the darkened sky, reflected faintly in patches of thawed mud and puddles. The wind carries the scent of wet earth, of animals settled in pens, of smoke from distant fires. You breathe deeply, letting the cold touch your cheeks, letting the world impress itself upon you once more. Survival is not over. It is a continuum, a rhythm of labor, endurance, and awareness. Sleep comes heavily, but not without reflection. You think of the river, the fields, the forest, the animals, the children, the fire, the bread. Each element is part of the intricate web that sustains your life. The past winter feels distant now, like a shadow overlaid upon the brightening landscape of spring. You remember the frozen nights, the hunger, the constant vigilance, and yet you also feel gratitude for what has endured, for what has been preserved, for what will grow again. Tomorrow, work will resume, fields will be ploughed further, seeds scattered, fences repaired. Nets will be cast again, waters checked, tools mended. Every day carries the weight of necessity, but each day also carries the hope that life will flourish, that survival will continue, that the village will endure. And so you close your eyes, letting the quiet of night wash over you. The sounds of the longhouse, soft snores, whispered words, the faint creak of wood, become a lullaby. The earth itself seems to exhale, releasing the tension of months frozen in ice. You rest, knowing that dawn will come with its work, its challenges, its small victories, and you will meet it once more, steady and unbroken, shaped by the rhythm of survival in the Viking Age. The sun rises earlier now, spilling across the village in a soft, golden light that warms the longhouse and touches the mud-smeared fields with a gentle glow. The mornings are longer, and the air is filled with a mixture of scents, damp earth from recent rains, the faint sweetness of early herbs, the lingering aroma of last night's fire. You awake slowly, muscles still heavy from yesterday's labor, but there is a sense of purpose that pulls you from your straw mattress. Today, as with every day, is a day of preparation, of tending, of ensuring survival through the seasons. The longhouse stirs gradually. The quiet is punctuated by small noises, the scrape of wooden utensils against clay bowls, the soft murmur of a child waking, the faint clatter of a goat's hooves against the packed earth floor. You rise carefully, mindful of stiff joints and raw hands, and step into the cool morning air. Mist hangs low over the ground, swirling in soft ribbons around posts and fences, and you take a deep breath of the damp, fresh air, letting it fill your lungs with the promise of the day. Out in the fields, the work is relentless, though it carries a rhythm that becomes almost meditative. Some villagers begin early by inspecting the crops that survive the thaw, checking for damage from frost or wandering animals. Others prepare storage areas, repairing bins and granaries, ensuring that what has been sown will be protected from both the elements and potential thieves. The scent of damp straw and freshly turned soil rises as the plough cuts deep furrows, and your hands, calloused but steady, guide the wood and iron in practiced movements. Each turn of the soil is a promise, a covenant with the land that what is planted today will sustain life tomorrow. Nearby, children are given small tasks, learning the subtle movements and careful attention that labor demands. Some gather small bundles of kindling, while others help carry water from the river or tend to small herb gardens. Their laughter echoes faintly across the fields, a sharp contrast to the quiet concentration of the adults, and you watch for a moment, reminded that survival is not only about enduring, but about teaching, passing knowledge forward, ensuring that the rhythm of life continues beyond a single generation. By mid-morning, the longhouse fills with the aroma of food being prepared. Bread, dense and slightly crumbly, is sliced thickly, paired with bits of cheese and salted meat. Occasionally, dried berries or nuts are added, a small luxury that brings sweetness and texture to the otherwise plain meal. You sit on a low bench near the fire, letting the warmth soak into your back and take in the sounds of the household, soft conversation, the shuffle of feet on packed earth, the crackle of the firewood. There is a comfort in this consistency, a grounding presence that steadies you before the labor-intensive hours that await outside. As the sun climbs higher, attention turns to the larger tasks of the season. The first of the summer crops require careful attention, and the fields demand vigilance against both natural threats and human interference. You move alongside others, pulling weeds, checking irrigation channels, and inspecting fences. Each task, though small in isolation, contributes to a larger web of survival. The day unfolds in long stretches of measured labor, punctuated by brief pauses to drink water, to exchange a word with a neighbor, to adjust the tension of a tool or the strap of a sack. The rhythm is deliberate, almost hypnotic, a blend of repetition and precision that occupies the mind as much as the body. By late afternoon, the river calls again. Fishing is no longer just a supplement to the winter stores. It is an essential source of protein and a skill that demands attention. The currents are faster now, fed by melted snow and rain, and each cast of the net or hook requires understanding of the water's behavior. You move carefully along the bank, eyes scanning for movement beneath the surface, hands steady as you adjust lines and bait. When a fish finally struggles in your grasp, there is a quiet satisfaction, a tangible reward for the patience and knowledge that have guided your movements. Evening draws the village together once more. Tasks wind down as the sun dips toward the horizon, painting the sky in shades of amber and rose. Meals are prepared with care, and the longhouse fills with the aromas of boiling grains, roasting meat, and drying herbs. Conversation flows more freely now, stories told in low tones, laughter rising and falling like a soft tide. Schools recount tales of gods and heroes, of distant raids and familiar victories, of lessons learned and challenges overcome. You listen, sometimes contributing small observations, sometimes simply absorbing the rhythm of the community, letting it reinforce the sense of belonging and purpose that sustains you through toil and hardship alike. As night deepens, the tension of survival persists, even in quieter moments. Raiding, though infrequent, is part of the rhythm of the year. Ships are prepared, routes discussed, and younger warriors trained in subtle strategies and tactics. Though you may not take part in every expedition, the knowledge that the village relies on these ventures for supplemental resources colors daily decisions and conversations. There is a constant awareness of the wider world beyond the immediate fields and river, a delicate balance between tending the land and preparing for potential journeys that could bring both danger and reward. Inside the longhouse, the smell of smoke from the hearth mingles with the earthy aroma of dried herbs and stored grains. Children settle into small bundles of blankets, their faces glowing in the flickering light. Adults sit quietly, mending tools or clothing, sharing quiet words, reflecting on the day's labors. Outside, the wind rustles through early leaves, carrying scents of growing crops and fresh water. It is a symphony of subtle sounds and textures, each contributing to the delicate equilibrium that sustains life. Before sleep, a ritual unfolds almost instinctively. Hands are washed in cool water, the body scrubbed of sweat and dirt, small prayers or gestures whispered to the unseen forces that guide and protect. You run fingers over the smooth surfaces of tools, check the edges of blades, ensure that ropes are coiled and nets dried. Each movement is deliberate, a meditation of care and preparation, reinforcing the knowledge that survival depends on attention, skill, and respect for the tools and land that make life possible. Finally, as the longhouse settles into quiet, you step outside one last time. The stars are bright and scattered across the vast northern sky, mirrored faintly in pools of water and the dew-slick earth. The air is cooler now, carrying the smell of growing grass, of distant animals, of the lingering warmth of the hearth. Breathing deeply, you feel the connection between yourself, the land, and the village. Every action, every step, every breath is part of an intricate web that sustains life, and you are both participant and observer, grounded in the present while aware of the cycles that have guided your people for generations. Sleep comes slowly but deeply, a reward after the labor of the day. Thoughts drift between memories of winter, the work of planting, the promise of the harvest, and the distant possibility of raiding journeys. The body relaxes, the mind unwinds, and the quiet rhythm of the longhouse soothes the soul. Tomorrow will bring more work, more attention, more careful tending of the land, animals, and community. Yet tonight, there is rest, there is warmth, and there is a profound understanding that survival, though never easy, is a carefully maintained art. In this season, life is a constant negotiation between labor, leisure, and vigilance. You observe the subtle signs of growth, the changing behavior of animals, the movement of clouds and wind, all of which dictate the choices and rhythms of daily life. Each task, though seemingly mundane, contributes to the preservation of the village and the continuation of a cycle that stretches back generations. Knowledge of the land, skill with tools, and respect for the natural rhythms are all vital, and you carry them with the quiet pride of one who understands that survival is both a privilege and a responsibility. The night deepens further, and the village rests under a sky heavy with stars. Fires burn low, casting flickering shadows that dance across mud brick walls and wooden beams. The distant sound of water flowing, the faint creak of a door settling, the occasional cough or murmur from sleepers creates a soft, living lullaby. You lie down on your straw mattress, letting the day's labor settle in your body, allowing your mind to wander gently across the tasks completed and those still awaiting attention. Even as sleep claims you, the awareness of life's delicate balance remains. Crops must be nurtured, livestock tended, tools maintained, stories told, and knowledge passed on. Each day is an affirmation of resilience, a testament to the skill, patience, and endurance that define life in the Viking Age. And when dawn comes again, the cycle will begin anew, carrying you forward through the seasons, through challenges and victories, through the quiet and the storm, ever sustained by the intricate rhythm of daily survival. The sky above your village is a muted grey, the kind that presses gently against your eyes and seeps into your bones, reminding you that winter will not release its grip just yet. You rise from your straw-filled mattress, stiff from the night's rest, the faint smell of smoke from last night's hearth mingling with the lingering scent of your own body, an earthy reminder of the life you lead. Outside, a hush hangs over the landscape, the frozen ground sparkling faintly where the sun manages to touch it, and the wind whispers across the thatched roofs in a tone both melancholy and alive. As you step outside, the cold greets you like an old companion, biting at your cheeks, nipping at your fingers, yet awakening your senses fully. Your breath hangs in the air, a ghostly presence that evaporates almost instantly, leaving behind only the crisp sensation of frost on your tongue. The village is slowly stirring. A few neighbors are already tending to the animals, their movements deliberate and rhythmic. The sheep's wool is thick with winter's accumulation, and the goats huddle close, sharing warmth in a manner almost human in its tenderness. Chickens scratch at the frozen earth, their beady eyes alert and wary, searching for anything edible beneath the thin layer of frost. You wrap your cloak tighter around yourself and move toward the communal fire. Here, heat is sacred, a precious resource preserved with care. The logs crackle, sending tiny sparks into the air, dancing briefly before being swallowed by the dim morning light. Villagers gather, each lost in their own thoughts, but bound together by the shared rhythm of survival. The sound of murmured greetings and the scrape of boots against the frozen ground forms a quiet symphony, a reminder that even in hardship, life persists, stubborn and unyielding. Your task for the day is clear. The forges will not stoke themselves, and the tools you wield, simple though they may be, are essential for every aspect of life here. You move to the blacksmith's corner, the scent of molten metal thick and heavy in the air. The forge is a hive of heat and noise, the hammer ringing against iron with a sharpness that echoes off the wooden beams and stone walls. You watch as a fellow laborer shapes a blade, each strike precise, deliberate, the metal glowing orange hot before it cools and hardens into something useful, something necessary for hunting, building, or defending the village. The rhythm is hypnotic, almost meditative, and you find yourself sensing your movements to it, feeling the connection between your body, the tools, and the raw materials of survival. Mid-morning brings a brief reprieve, and you step outside, inhaling the cold air deeply, letting it fill your lungs and wash away the lingering heat and smoke of the forge. Around you, the village is alive with quiet activity, women stirring pots over open fires, children attempting to mimic the adults, the occasional bark of a dog echoing across the frozen fields. You pause to observe, noticing the small details that often escape attention, the way frost clings to the edges of the roofs, the soft patter of animal hooves on the packed earth, the delicate patterns left in the snow by tiny birds seeking food. Each moment is a thread in the larger tapestry of life, small but vital, weaving together the existence of every soul in this harsh yet beautiful place. Lunch is a simple affair, a stew thick with root vegetables, salted meat, and barley, simmered 4 hours over the hearth. You sit with a few others, the warmth of the fire radiating through your chilled limbs. Conversation is minimal, often just nods and murmurs, the work of the day always lingering at the edges of thought. The taste of the stew is hearty, earthy, grounding. Each spoonful sustains not just your body, but your spirit, reminding you of the quiet generosity of the land and the labor that shapes it into sustenance. Steam rises in gentle swirls, carrying the aroma into your nose, filling your senses, slowing time in a way that allows you to simply be, momentarily free from the demands of survival. After the meal, the work of the fields calls once more. Even in winter, there is maintenance to be done, clearing paths, securing storage of preserved food, checking the fortifications that surround the village. The snow crunches beneath your boots, a soft but persistent rhythm, and your breath puffs in front of you, ephemeral and white. You pause at the edge of the frozen stream, watching the water trapped beneath ice, sensing the life stirring beneath the surface, a quiet reminder that even when all seems still, the world persists. Gathering firewood from the nearby woods is arduous, each branch heavy with frost, yet necessary. You lift, carry, and stack, muscles straining, body moving in patterns honed over years of practice, each movement precise and purposeful. The late afternoon brings the return to the village, and with it, the preparation for the evening. The animals must be fed again, the fire stoked, tools cleaned and repaired. The air grows colder, the light dimmer, and you feel the familiar pull of fatigue pressing against your limbs. Yet there is also satisfaction here, in the rhythm of labor and care, in the quiet pride of tasks completed. The village breathes together, a living organism of human effort, animal presence, and the pulse of the earth beneath your feet. As night approaches, the sky deepens to a rich indigo, stars beginning to pierce the veil of darkness, distant and unwavering. You light the lamps, their flames flickering against the walls of your home, casting shadows that dance and sway with a gentle insistence. The aroma of the evening meal, simple bread and preserved meat, mingles with the scent of wood smoke and animals, creating a familiar, grounding atmosphere. You eat slowly, savoring each bite, feeling the warmth of the hearth seep into your bones, a counterpoint to the cold that reigns outside. After the meal, you take a moment to step outside once more, the village quiet now, the only sounds the wind whispering through the trees and the distant call of an owl. The frozen landscape glows softly under the moonlight, silvering the thatched roofs and the frozen earth. The stars seem impossibly bright, each one a tiny, constant reminder of the vastness of the world, and the endurance required to live within it. You breathe deeply, letting the cold fill your lungs, letting the night settle around you, a cloak of stillness and contemplation. Finally, you return to your home, the straw bed welcoming after a day of labor. You pull the wool blanket around yourself, its rough texture a familiar comfort, and close your eyes. The day has been long, filled with toil, challenge, and the quiet joys of life sustained against the elements. Your body aches, your mind drifts, and you allow yourself the rare luxury of stillness, feeling the pulse of life in the village, in the animals, in the frozen earth beneath. Outside, the wind hums softly, a lullaby for the weary, a promise that tomorrow, too, will come, with its demands and its rewards. As your eyelids grow heavy, you reflect on the day, the quiet triumphs, the subtle lessons of endurance, the intricate web of connection that sustains this community, and as sleep begins to draw you under, you feel gratitude for the warmth of the hearth, the presence of those around you, and the enduring rhythm of life in the Viking age, harsh and unyielding yet strangely beautiful in its relentless simplicity. The morning breaks slowly over your village, a soft, diffused light stretching across the frozen fields, catching on the frost like tiny diamonds scattered across the earth. You wake to the familiar sounds of the village stirring, a low murmur of activity that has become both comforting and essential. The cold greets you immediately, a crisp bite that draws a shiver down your spine, but also awakens every sense, reminding you that life here is vivid as it is demanding. As your eyes adjust, you notice the subtle shifts in light and shadow, the way the sun, low in the sky, touches the tips of the thatched roofs and glints off the frost-encrusted branches. You rise from your straw mattress, feeling the ache and warmth of your body in equal measure, and pull your woolen cloak tighter around your shoulders. The scent of wood smoke from last night's fire still lingers, mingling with the earthy aroma of your home, a mix of sweat, straw, and the faint trace of animals that share this space with you. Outside, the world is quiet but alive. The dogs roam lazily in the snow, chickens scratch in the frozen earth, and the goats huddle together for warmth. The frozen stream glimmers faintly in the morning light, and you can almost sense the life beneath the ice, persistent and patient, like your own community enduring the harshness of this land. You step out to join the others at the communal fire, a place where warmth, conversation, and the rhythm of life converge. The logs crackle, sending tiny sparks upward that vanish almost immediately, a fleeting brilliance in the grey morning. Around the fire, neighbours are performing their familiar tasks, some sharpening tools, others feeding animals, and a few exchanging quiet words that carry the cadence of routine. The air is crisp, the wind moving through the village with a soft whistle, and each breath you take is an immersion in the raw clarity of this world. Today, you were tasked with tending to the grain storage, ensuring that the preserved barley and oats are secure against the cold and any potential intrusion by pests. The work is meticulous, requiring attention to detail and a steady hand, but it is also meditative. You run your fingers over the rough sacks, feeling the grain shift beneath the coarse fabric, and listen to the soft rustle as you reposition them. Each movement is deliberate, a small but vital contribution to the survival of the village. You notice the tiny flower dust motes dancing in the air, catching the faint sunlight, a reminder of the abundance that requires careful stewardship. The morning stretches on with a quiet rhythm, punctuated by the occasional animal sound or the soft murmur of conversation. You take a moment to pause, looking out over the snow-blanketed fields, and consider the endurance required to live here. Every task, no matter how small, is a thread in the intricate web of village life. The blacksmith's hammer rings from across the way, a sharp, precise sound that echoes in the cold air, while the women tend to fires and prepare meals, each movement an act of resilience and care. The children play near the edge of the village, their laughter ringing like fragile chimes, a sound that feels almost sacred against the backdrop of frost and stone. By midday, the sun climbs higher, casting a pale warmth over the land, and you move to the communal area where tools and supplies are gathered. Repairs must be made, and every action is performed with an awareness of necessity. A fellow villager joins you, and together you lift, mend, and maintain, the repetition of labor becoming almost hypnotic. The scent of freshly split wood mixes with the cold air, and the tactile sensation of the rough timber under your hands is grounding, a direct link between human effort and the environment that sustains you. Each strike of the hammer, each careful alignment of wood and metal, reinforces the invisible fabric that holds this community together. Lunch is a simple affair, as always, but its significance is profound. You sit with neighbors around a low table, eating hearty stew made from root vegetables, salted meat, and grains. The warmth of the fire contrasts sharply with the cold beyond the walls, and you savor each bite, conscious of the care it represents from planting and harvesting to preparation over the fire. Conversation flows easily, though quietly, as the work of the day still hums in the background. You notice the subtle shifts in expression, the small gestures of camaraderie, the shared understanding that each person's labor underpins the collective survival of all. The afternoon brings continued work, tending animals, repairing structures, and preparing for the evening. The cold persists, seeping into your clothing and into the very air you breathe, but it is a constant companion now. As familiar as it is unyielding, you move with intention, aware of each motion and each task's importance. The frozen ground crunches beneath your boots, a steady rhythm that mirrors your heartbeat, and the wind carries both the scent of wood smoke and the faint fragrance of winter herbs, preserved from the last harvest. As dusk approaches, the village takes on a softer, more intimate glow. Lamps are lit, fires stoked, and the aroma of the evening meal begins to drift through the homes. You pause to observe, noticing the subtle interplay of light and shadow, the silhouettes of neighbors against flickering flames, the shimmer of frost on the rooftops. The village is alive with quiet ritual, the rhythms of daily survival blending seamlessly with moments of reflection and connection. It is a world defined by endurance, community, and the slow, deliberate unfolding of each day. Night falls fully, and you gather with your family around the hearth. The warmth penetrates your chilled limbs, and you feel the comfort of proximity, the shared presence of those who live and labor alongside you. Meals are simple but nourishing, a final act of care before rest. Conversation is sparse, often more about observation and shared experience than words, and the soft crackle of the fire serves as a gentle lullaby. You notice the small details, the glint of a child's eyes in the firelight, the rough texture of a neighbor's cloak, the lingering aroma of the day's bread, baking, all forming a tapestry of sensory memory that grounds you in the moment. Finally, as the day draws to a close, you retreat to your straw-filled bed, wrapping the woolen blanket around yourself with practiced ease. Outside, the wind hums against the walls, a steady companion through the long, cold night. You close your eyes, allowing the rhythm of life in the village, the pulse of human effort, and the quiet constancy of the natural world to lull you into sleep. Your body aches, your mind unwinds, and the day's labor dissolves into the gentle embrace of rest. Before drifting completely away, you take a moment to reflect on the endurance, resilience, and quiet beauty that define life here. Each task, each act of care, each shared meal, and each moment of stillness is a testament to the strength required to thrive in this harsh but wondrous landscape. And as you exhale, letting the last tension leave your body, you hold a deep gratitude for the warmth of the hearth, the presence of community, and the unbroken rhythm of life in the Viking Age. As you settle into sleep, you want to thank everyone who has joined this journey. If you've enjoyed this immersive experience, leave a like, comment where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you, and subscribe if you'd like to continue exploring history with us. The stories of survival, endurance, and human experience across time are richer when shared, and your presence makes these narratives feel alive. So take a deep breath, let your body sink further into comfort, and allow the quiet rhythm of life long ago to guide you gently into rest. Good night, and may your dreams carry you through the snow-laden landscapes, the roaring fires, and the enduring spirit of the Viking Age.